The legacy of Toph Beifong spans decades. From teaching the Avatar to inventing a new form of earthbending, there is no doubt that Toph has cemented her place in history.
Toph, you rule.
Here is a complete timeline of Toph Beifong. Toph was born into the wealthy Beifong family and raised by her overprotective parents, Lao and Poppy Beifong. Because Toph was blind, her parents were very overprotective, believing that she would have a difficult time protecting herself.
Blow on it. It's too hot for her.
They couldn't have been further from the truth. At 6 years old, Toph ran away from home and hid in a cave. There she found herself face to face with the Badger Moles, the original earthbenders. Through the Badger Moles, she was able to learn earthbending not just as a martial art, but as an extension of her senses, allowing her to feel the vibrations in the ground to interact with the world, effectively replacing her sight. As she grew up, she kept her advanced bending abilities a secret from her parents, who would consider such things too dangerous for their only daughter. Her father hired an earthbending teacher to teach Toph the bare basics of the art.
I'm keeping her at the beginner's level. Basic forms and breathing exercises only.
Unaware of her advanced skill. As an outlet for her earthbending, Toph began secretly fighting in local underground tournaments under the name The Blind Bandit, and quickly became the local champion, defeating enemies like the Boulder with ease. It was at one of these fights that she was challenged by Avatar Aang himself. Having never before battled an airbender, Toph was caught off guard and unable to sense Aang's subtle movements, leading to her first ever defeat. After the battle, Team Avatar tried to convince Toph to join them as Aang's earthbending teacher.
Whoever you are, just leave me alone.
Toph initially refused the offer. But after her abilities were revealed to her parents, causing them to give her even less freedom, she ran away to join the Avatar.
You're gonna be a great teacher, Toph.
Believing that Toph was kidnapped by Team Avatar, Lao Beifong hired powerful earthbenders, Jin Fu and Master Yu, to track them down and bring Toph back.
I want you to do whatever it takes to bring her home.
As she traveled with Team Avatar, Toph quickly began to butt heads with Katara, insisting that as long as she carried her own weight, she shouldn't have to contribute to group tasks like setting up camp or finding food. But after an insightful chat with the wise Iroh,
You wouldn't even let me pour my own cup of tea.
I poured your tea because I wanted to, and for no other reason.
she learned that it's okay to give and accept help from others. As she trained Aang, the group decided to go to the Knowledge Spirits Library in search of intelligence about how to defeat the Fire Lord. Toph, having no use for books, agreed to stand guard outside of the library. But when the library began to sink, Toph was able to hold it up using earthbending for long enough for the group to escape, but was unable to prevent a group of sandbenders from kidnapping Appa.
I'm sorry, Appa.
So she traveled with the group to Ba Sing Se in search of their missing sky bison. And while there, Toph used her earthbending to help prevent a new Fire Nation weapon from penetrating the city wall. Once inside the city, Toph helped the others track down and rescue Appa. Then she decided to break away from the group after receiving a letter from her mother. Or so she thought.
Hello? Mom? Anyone home?
In fact, the letter was a trap set by Master Yu and Jin Fu. But by the time she realized something was wrong, it was too late. Trapped in a prison of all metal, there seemed to be no earth to bend. But using her ability to sense vibrations, Toph was able to locate fragments of earth within the metal until she could harness it and become the first ever metal bender.
Come on, metal fudge. Woo! Toph, you rule.
Toph was then picked up by Aang and Sokka on their way back to Ba Sing Se. There she and Sokka encountered Azula, Ty Lee, and Mai, disguised as Kyoshi warriors. Toph and Sokka were forced to surrender when Azula threatened the Earth King.
This fight is over.
But with Toph's new metal bending skill, it wasn't long before she and Sokka were able to turn the tables, free the king, and escape the Earth Kingdom on Appa. Toph helped the crew commandeer a Fire Nation ship to help disguise the team and infiltrate the Fire Nation itself. In the Fire Nation, Toph took on the alias The Runaway and used her earthbending abilities to scam the locals for money, much to the dismay of Katara, who tried to convince Toph to put an end to her scamming.
Are you proud of this?
Toph grew frustrated with Katara's motherly behavior, as it reminded her of her own controlling parents. But after a talk with Sokka, Toph revealed that she felt Katara cared for her even more than her real mother did.
Sometimes Katara does act motherly, but that's not always a bad thing. She's compassionate and kind, and she actually cares about me. You know, the real me.
And the two made up. During the day of Black Sun invasion, Toph fought alongside fellow Earthbenders and former adversaries alike as an Earthbending soldier. It was Toph who was able to use her abilities to locate the Fire Lord's secret underground bunker and use earth and metal bending to infiltrate. But instead of the Fire Lord, they found Azula and a legion of Dai Li agents waiting for them. Toph and the gang were able to hold them off, but the distraction proved effective. They had missed their window to locate the Fire Lord and were forced to flee. During Sozin's Comet, Toph helped launch an attack on the Fire Nation airships preparing to attack and destroy the city of Ba Sing Se, bending the rudders of the ships using metal bending and causing them to crash into each other, ultimately playing a huge part in ending the 100-Year War.
Have I ever mentioned how sweet it is that you invented metal bending?
Shortly thereafter, Toph founded the Beifeng Metal Bending Academy in the Western Earth Kingdom to teach other Earthbenders the new art of metal bending. She traveled to the Earth and Fire Refinery, run by a young man named Satoru. Satoru, being a major fan of Toph's, struck up a partnership with her to provide funding for her school in exchange for help from her metal bending students in fixing the refinery's machinery. Her attitude towards Satoru gave the rest of Team Avatar a rare glimpse of Toph's softer side. So when Aang expressed his displeasure to the fact that the refinery was built on a land sacred to the Air Nomads, Toph defended the refinery, noting that the Air Nomads had abandoned the land. This caused a rift between Toph and the Avatar, with Aang believing she was only siding with Satoru due to a crush, and Toph finding herself frustrated with progress being halted by what she considered pointless Air Nomad rituals, which reminded her of the countless rules once set upon her by her father. Little did she know that her father was in fact a co-founder of the refinery, which added another layer of complexity to the conflict as Toph attempted to reconnect with him. She was shocked, however, to hear him claim that she was not his daughter at all. Lao was unwilling to accept that the bold, unapologetic, and sometimes rude girl in front of him was in fact the same girl he had raised to be poised, proper, and polite. But when the mining activity on site caused a dangerous cave-in, Lao was driven to confess to Toph how he truly felt, at last acknowledging her as his daughter, and ultimately apologizing for his behavior and expressing his love. When Aang set out to destroy the refinery, Toph, at the request of her father, opposed him, leading her students into battle against Avatar Aang himself. But when the actions of the refinery angered an ancient spirit, Old Iron, Toph was able to see the consequences the refinery caused firsthand, leading her to help the Avatar face the threat and causing the two benders to mend their friendship. Toph would remain an executive partner at a new factory built by her and Satoru. From there, they would see the small settlement around the factory grow into the thriving town of Cranefish Town. A major conflict arose when the benders and non-benders of the town began to fight for control. Toph was able to help Team Avatar infiltrate a meeting of a group of bending supremacists and ultimately assist in defeating them, restoring peace to the town and reviving the relations between benders and non-benders. Toph decided to stay in Cranefish Town and help it grow and prosper into a great city known as Republic City, where she would become the chief of police. She taught many of her force the art of metal bending, effectively creating an elite metal bending police force. Toph eventually had two daughters, Lin and Suyin, who had both inherited their mother's earth-bending abilities. When the notorious bloodbender Yakone was at large, Toph and Avatar Aang arrested him so he could stand trial. It was at that trial, however, that Yakone used his bloodbending to attack the court, leaving Toph and her police force helpless, until Aang was able to apprehend him and take away his bending permanently. Toph would have to face a difficult decision when her own daughter Suyin was arrested for theft.
You two have put me in an impossible position.
In order to protect her daughter, Toph turned her back on her principles and destroyed the police report. She retired from the police force entirely shortly after the incident. By the time of the new Avatar, Korra, Toph was living alone in the foggy swamp, where Korra's avatar senses one day led her. Toph agreed to help train Korra to be a stronger avatar and overcome her past traumas, even teaching her to metal bend the poison left in her body by Zahir. It was with Toph's help that a broken avatar Korra was able to regain her strength and balance once again. When Suyin and her family were captured by Kuvira, Toph finally withdrew from her seclusion and traveled to the metal city of Zaofu to spring Suyin and the others and join in the fight against Kuvira.
You give metal benders a bad name!
In her life, Toph taught 2 avatars, invented metal bending, helped to end the 100-Year War, and created an elite police force to stand up for what's right. The many marks she left on history are momentous and enduring, as if etched in stone.